Here we are in our dashboard workbook on our calculations worksheet, and in this exercise we're going to create a number of pivot tables to determine the latest and previous month's sales. And then we're going to format our dashboard just a little bit, connecting to our calculations in our pivot tables here in our calculations worksheet. So what I want to make sure is that I have my calculations worksheet showing here, and then I'm going to go to my insert ribbon tab. Over in the tables group, I'm going to click the bottom half of PivotTable. Now down here I'm going to come down. Remember, we linked all of our tables to our data model, so I'm going to click on this, and then from here I want to make sure that I had cell A6 selected, and then I'm just going to click OK. When I do, it opens up my pivot table framework here, and then my pivot table fields are over here. Now, having saved everything in my data model, all the tables are visible to me. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit. Now from here I want to determine the current or latest sales. So I'm going to come over, I'm going to look at my tables here, and you'll notice that all is selected because there are no active ones already selected. So I'm going to expand out my date info, and then I want to move my month flag over to my filters, just like that. And then I want to move my month name down to rows. So I click and drag down to rows. You'll notice it starts building it out for me. From there I want to click my filter arrow here, and then I'm going to expand it out, and I'm going to make sure that I have latest selected. That's the only one that I want. I click OK, and it builds it out for me. Now I want to dress this up just a little bit, clean it up. So here on my design ribbon tab, I'm going to come over to my layout group, and I don't need these grand totals here. So I'm going to click the grand totals and just turn them off for the columns and rows. That looks considerably better. Also want to expand this out. Instead of row labels, I want to change that out. So I'm going to do that by going to my report layout and then choose tabular form. Notice it gives me my name of my field. Now that I've determined the latest or current month, I want to create another pivot table that has the previous month. So I'm just going to select this entire range, and I want to copy and paste it over here. I'm going to do a little shortcut here. I'm going to put my cursor on the border, and I'm going to press Control and then click and drag to the right and let go right here. So I've just copied it in effect. Then from there I want to change my filter from latest to previous. So I'll click this and go to previous, click OK. Now it displays for me nicely. Now I want to create a title up here that references the latest month. So here in this cell I'm going to type in equals, and then I want to put in the phrase sales for. So I have to make sure that all of that is within quotations. Sales for. And then I'm going to do a space and then close my quotations. After that I'm going to use an anchor, the concatenation anchor, which is the ampersand sign, and then I want to reference this cell here, just like that. Now I'm going to press Control Enter, and look at that, Shazam, it looks really good. Now that I have this established, I want to come over to my dashboard worksheet, and I want to start building up my worksheet. At the very bottom we have a number of shapes that I want to use for my dashboard. I'm going to grab my horizontal rectangle here. I'm going to drag this up and then scroll up, and then drag this up and drop it right there at the top, just like that. And then remember, over here in the calculations worksheet, this cell A3, I want that text, and which is basically a formula, to appear within that shape here. So in the formula bar I'm going to do equals, and then come to calculations worksheet and select that cell, and then press Control Enter. Look at that, it appears over here, but I need to dress that up. So I'm going to do center and middle, and then change the font to white. Nope, didn't apply middle. There it is. And then I also want to change the font size to 14. So there you go. Now we have a nice title for our dashboard. Over here in our calculations worksheet, I want to copy this pivot table because I want to build another pivot table down here that references the values, this total sales. So I'm going to, instead of rebuilding the whole thing, I'm going to select this. I'm going to again use my little shortcut. I hold down Control, I click and drag. I've copied this now. Now that I have this third pivot table down here selected, I'll just select anywhere in this pivot table. Over in the pivot table fields, I need to reconfigure some of this. I want to expand out my sales data table here, and then what I want to look for is my sales value. There it is. I'm just going to click right here and it automatically adds it to my values. And from there I want to remove my month name, click and drag that out. And then I also want to move my month flag over to column, so I click and drag. Look at that. So now I have my pivot table displaying the latest, previous, and null. I don't need null, so I'm going to click my filter here and then remove null and then click OK. And there you have it. Next, what I want to do is I want to copy this A13 through C13, and I want to copy this. So I'm going to do Control C, and then down in cell A15 I just want to paste a link to it. So here in my clipboard group I'm going to click the bottom half of paste, and then down here under other paste options I'm going to click paste link. So that way when this information changes, this will automatically change as well. From here I want to select this range. I want to apply a accounting format. Here in my numbers group I'll click accounting. I want to remove all the change. Now after I format this as accounting, over here I want to create a little formula that will calculate the difference between the latest and previous sales. So inside here I'll put equals B15 divided by C15 minus 1 and press Control Enter. That's my value. I'm going to change that to a percentage and increase the decimal by 1 decimal. From there I want to also apply a conditional formatting that gives me a little arrow icon. So here I'm going to come to my conditional formatting, and then I'm going to choose New Rule. I'm going to leave it on the Format All Cells Based on Their Values option, and then down here I'm going to change it from 2 colors to icon sets. And then from here in the icon sets I'm going to click this and find my arrows. There they are, the 3 arrows colored. And then over here I want to change my values. First I want to change my types from percentage just to numbers. And then here, whenever the value is greater than or equal to 0.05, it's going to show me this green arrow. And then whenever it's less than 0.05, negative 0.05, it'll show me this right yellow arrow. I'll click OK, and look at that. Pretty cool. Now from here, I'm going to come back to my dashboard worksheet, and then I'm going to scroll down just a little bit, and I'm going to find these 2 horizontal shapes. I'm going to click the first one, press Control, and click the second one. Now they're both selected. I'm just going to move those up. I want those to be right here. Now within those shapes, I'm going to add a couple of text boxes. So what I want to do is come to my Insert Ribbon tab, go to Text Box, and then I'm just going to click on the worksheet somewhere. And then inside this text box, I want to display the latest month, but I want it to be dynamic. I want it to change. So here in the formula bar, I'm going to type in equals, and then come to my calculations worksheet, select cell A7, and there it is in my formula. I'll press Control Enter, and there it is. I'll reposition this to where it's just to the left of my top shape here. And then I want to change the font size to 14 and change the font color to white. So I'll click white. There it is. Now I'll use my arrow keys just to nudge it up so it's kind of centered. Now from there I want to copy this and move it over to the left here. I'm going to just put my cursor on the edge of this, on the border, press Control, click and drag. I have now copied it. Now having this copied, I want to change the formula up here to display the latest sales value here in cell B15. So I'll come back to this. I'm going to change this portion of it to B15, and then I'll press Control Enter, and look at that. Pretty cool. Again, I'll format to size 14 and font color white. Now we have established our current sales and the current month. So I want to do the same thing down here for the previous month. So I have my first text box selected. I'll press Control and click over here. Now I have them both selected. I want to copy and paste them down here. Again, I'm going to use a shortcut. I'm going to put my cursor on the border here. I'm going to click, press Control, click and drag down. Look at that. Pretty cool. I'll deselect and then select this first cell for April, and I want to change that to the March reference right over here. So I can see that's in E7 and the values are in C15. So I'm going to come over to here, change the A to E, press Control Enter, there's March. Select the values and then come up to this formula bar and change the B to C. Press Control Enter. Look at that. Now I'll position them in the center a little bit. I'm using my arrow keys to nudge them down. Now I'm going to press Control, click the second one, and then format them accordingly so they match the first. Now they match the previous, or the latest month, and now we have the previous month. Now again, as the calculations change, these are going to automatically update because they have a formula referencing those cells. Now I'm going to come back to my calculations worksheet, and here we have D15. It's already selected. And what I want to do is I want that to appear here to the right of the latest sales values. So I'm going to come back to my calculations. I'm going to have it selected, and I'm going to just press Control C to copy it. I'm going to come back to my dashboard. So I'm going to come to my paste options, and here's my linked picture. I'll click that, and now it's linked. I'll reposition it so it's inside my shape here. Kind of move it over to the D column here. Now if I deselect it, I can see there's a white border. It doesn't look real good, so I need to format this a little bit. I'm going to first format this shape itself. I'm going to select the shape, and then I'm going to change the fill color here on my shape format ribbon tab. I'm going to change my shape fill color to this green accent 6 darker 50%. So there it is. Now having done that, I'm going to come back to my calculations ribbon tab. I can see it's selected there. It has the copy. I'll press escape just to deselect it. Now with it selected, I'm going to change the font color to white because everything I do here will apply over there. And then I'm going to change the fill color to that same green accent 6 darker 50%. Click OK, and then I'm going to come over to dashboard, and there it is. It looks pretty good. I'm also going to do one step further. I'm going to come back to my calculations and increase that font size to 14. Come back to my dashboard. That looks pretty good. I'll reposition it a little bit. Pretty simple. All right, now in the next exercise, we're going to build out the right side of our dashboard here that will include the top 3 sales managers and what they've earned and stuff, along with the sales by product category that will appear down here. Okay, thanks for joining me. I hope this was helpful, and we will see you in the next exercise.